let's go back to the basic human emotional needs. You know, there we do have our accountability prefect here, right?
Yeah.
She has an emotional need, right? Natu has an emotional need. I have emotional need, right? A person who has the natural order for them is they tend to gravitate towards self accountability, right? There's another person, most people, they'll rather point fingers, right? Which one of these six basic needs are they taking care of? They are taking care of the same thing, by the way, both of them. Which one is it that they're satisfying here? Is on the screen. There's one, certainty, two, variety, three, significance, four. It has to be at least two, okay? At least two, but it could be more than that. There's four, connection, five, growth, six, contribution. Whatever context comes to the way you comprehend is fine with me. Which one are we trying to satisfy here? All of us is the same thing. So self-blame or guilt. You know how I feel about guilt. They're destructive, just as destructive as shaming, right? But there's guilt, and guilt. It's not like it's all the way bad. Sometimes when guilt or shame is coming from a place of value, like you have a sense of value that you subscribe to, and you're disappointed in yourself, right? So you feel guilty. That's different. Guilt is when you're asking yourself, when somebody clearly did something wrong, a man cheated, but the number one question
Blame
that
yourself.
came to
You
your
have to,
mind is, where did I go wrong, right? So I'm the guy that assess things and says self accountability a lot, but I think it's a healthy thing for a human being to to not just blame themselves, right? Or somewhere in between, right? That's a dance, right? But you ladies, especially, what did I do wrong? Or if there's a person you can point fingers at outside of your husband, you rather point that finger at them. That's what we're talking about right now. What is the need? Two, at least two that we're taking care of here in all of this.
see, Ola, it's not that these things, those 2 points, I get what you're saying.
You
But
know, you
on
know what
another,
answer the question.
no. I just want to tell you that on
Okay.
another, this thing again, there's a level of growth that someone will get to that you will be able to like not feel that guilt and not think of the person outside, but think of the main culprit. So, so like
Unless you're an accountability prefect like Onibe.
that's
I
what,
was going to say
but
the same thing,
that's
that
what I'm
exactly
saying.
the same
Growth.
thing
You
about the
have to
growth. Yeah,
grow to a certain
exactly.
level.
It's the growth because, as my lovely sister said, when you've got to a level of growth, you will not blame yourself. You should be able to have that self-worth to know that it is not
Self
your fault.
worth. Self worth.
It's not your fault,
Self worth.
and
Very
put the
important.
blame squarely back on the perpetrator.
Yes, because think about it like this. Remember, people mimic the level of self respect you have for yourself 100% of the time. With the exception of the first time, some people are just mad. They will make the move to disrespect you for the first time first. But if they are repeating it the second, third, fourth time, there's you probably lack self respect. You know, if you think of it in terms of you can at least remove yourself, that's not a crime. It's a place. It's a weakness thing, right? It's a place coming from a place of weakness. You feel you're at significance. Number three, you are attaching your sense of significance to to whatever is going on, basically, as opposed to have it first, right? So that other people can have something to copy, right? And you ladies are absolutely correct. Sometimes, not sometimes, most of the time, you're not. When you're coming fresh into this world, into real life as an adult, it's almost impossible to know these things, right? You have to collect first, right? Before you start to, like, wait, how am I moving? Because we've all been taught to make other people happy to a large extent. It's, let's do it so that what people will say and all this kind of stuff, right? But the truth is that people don't value what is readily available. They just don't. And the other side of the truth, right, is that it's easier said than done. right? We talk about sometimes you've built a whole life around this person. Sometimes you're already pregnant for this person. Sometimes they're giving you mixed feelings. Like maybe okay, it's not cut and dry like that, right? Which is why I try to bring some of this stuff down to cut and dry. Like, hey, let's be clear. At the very minimum, you should be able to back off first from that relationship, from that situationship. It doesn't have to be a permanent decision, so you can assess things a little bit better before you decide to stay or leave, right? That's what I would say to that. But I think all of it at the end of the day, being a function of our growth, right? Depending on how much experience you've had, right? It's certainty. You're making the move that makes you feel secure. Okay? That makes you feel like I know where we're heading. Like I have an idea where we're heading. I don't have to know everything, but I can't move forward if I don't feel secure. Men too, you know? I can't move forward. Sometimes not being able to move forward doesn't mean you leave the relationship. You stay there and you punish each other in that relationship. You know, because you guys are not, you're always arguing, you're always, all this kind of stuff that a lot of people, even in marriages, go through, right? You're there, you know that it's toxic, but you stay there because a part of you kind of feels secure in terms of society level. You don't want it to look a certain way. What will society say, right? But on the flip side of things, you're not making a move. But all in all, it's all coming down to feelings, you know? But your feelings are better shaped. The more experience you have, the more open you become. You're able to say, you know what, this is healthy for me, not just in the short term, but in the long term. In the long term, it's always better to preserve self, right? Preserve yourself in terms of self-respect, self-love, self-worth. So thank you so much for participating in that. Anybody have something to add on to that?
Yeah, I was gonna say that if I can just obviously continue from there.
Sure.
I think it's a case of, like you said, preserving your self-worth and preserving your sanity, because I think it gets to a stage where if a man is constantly cheating on you, it's gonna affect you psychologically. You understand what I mean? But I just think personally, for Annie, I think she needs to step away. Just because it gets to a stage where you want to hold on to this marriage by fire by force. It's affecting you emotionally. It's affecting the family. It's affecting the kids, because kids are very perceptive. They know something's wrong. Why is mommy acting crazy all the time? They see all these things. So I think you have to step away. Not say, you know, it's up to her. If she needs to step away and just look at yourself that I'm not acting right. This is too toxic for me.
Yeah.
I need to get help. Step away, even if it may not be a permanent thing, like you said, man of prestige. It could be just a temporary thing.
Could be temporary. Yeah, it doesn't have to be permanent.
Yeah, of course.
But you need to learn how to step away from situations that make you feel less value of yourself.
Yes, I don't understand why she believes that she needs to be there, because it's obviously that her self-worth is very, very low. It must be.
Yeah.
For you to stay there and constantly be screaming and shouting, having arguments with this man.
Yeah, some people might say we don't know. Well, you're right. They're celebrities, we don't know. But let's go back to the topic. Continue, Latu.
I don't think she has the emotional intelligence to do that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
She can't. She's in the situation. She can't.
Right, yeah, because she has already, I'm telling you, he's not gonna get that reset button pressed until the day she makes a move and say, I need a break, and move away from him.
What do we call that here, Natu? What do we call that here at that point where she has that reset? What did you call it? I call it something else.
Reset button.
Can you recall what I called it a few weeks ago here? We were talking about Yola Doce.
What do you call it? Oh shoot, something bottom.
The rock bottom, yeah.
Rock bottom.
If she doesn't hit the rock bottom,
man of prestige.
Yeah,
are you kidding me? Is she not at the rock bottom now?
No, that's your opinion. That's your opinion, right? She doesn't feel like she's at the rock bottom yet. When she feels, sometimes I hate to tell you like this, trigger a lot. Some people need to delete.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Wow.
They might not, and I'm saying that so that you can check yourself. If you're feeling less value in your interaction with a person at work, on a job, in your relationship, it's okay to take a step back if it's really that cloudy. Don't wait until you feel like it's rock bottom, because that day may never come for you as a human being.
But man of prestige, you hear
Yeah.
about, obviously I'm based in the UK, you hear about loads of psychiatric wards that have, a lot of Nigerian women in there because of issues like this, because they've allowed it, and it's affected them mentally.
You want
But you need
newsflash?
to get to that level before you need to get out.
You want newsflash? Not to play tit for tat or anything like that.
Sure.
I think it's important to say that a lot of men are doing that as well.
I agree.
They don't know how to back off. This is why they hog on to traditional values in the name of traditional values. Instead of saying, no, this doesn't feel right, let me back off, right? Let me like, listen, it might be like, if your woman is acting, she's disrespectful, sometimes you need to back off of her and just let her know, like, I'm not gonna tolerate that. Let's back off of each other. Let's figure things out. We could start by, let me engage personal therapy for me as an individual, right? Just back off of her. That's time away, because there's only so much energy, time, resources, right? The more time you spend with therapy, the more time away from a situation that's toxic, right?
That's right.
A lot of men are peddling this narrative around, talking about there's self-deletions going on because of their interaction with women. And the truth is that the statistics are showing that, right? Because they hold on to traditional values, they put marriage on a pedestal, and they worry less about the individuals in it, right? If they can, first of all, leave marriage alone for a second. The individuals, me as an individual, me too, I deserve soft life, right? Can I take care of myself mentally first, right? What they do is they say it's because the traditional values are gone. No, it's not. Traditional values are gone because they don't belong here. They're gone, right? What's going on is that the situation you find yourself, you have no competence. You don't have competence. Is it competency or competency? Before the English prefects come and check me. Is it competency? Competency, right? Or competence? Which one is the word?
Competence is competence.
You're not competent anyway. You're not competent to handle the world you find yourself is the real issue, and that's okay. Ask questions. I would say an Annie needs to engage therapy. She doesn't need to take our advice, but she needs to engage therapy as fast as humanly possible, because the therapy will be able to assess the situation on a personal level and say, hey, maybe this is attached to your value, maybe this is how you, whatever, right? But from what we can see, because they're a public figure, right, it doesn't look good, because she's getting into trouble every time. She's breaking down every other month on the internet.
What I'm saying.
That's why she needs to go for therapy.
She's acting crazy. Let's just be real. Acting crazy. And so she needs to step out of there. Because when you're just acting crazy, gra, you need to step away. That I need help.
Yeah. So unless she hits rock bottom doesn't have to be deletion, is the point I'm making. It could be now. It could be like, listen, I feel, anytime you feel less value of yourself, just label it as rock bottom. If you're listening to me, just label that immediately as rock bottom. I'm not going to go any further beyond this. I need to back up first and deal with the issue. And if you're afraid that that person will be lost, gone before you come back, maybe that's the issue. Again, you feel less value of yourself, right? Because if you feel a decent level of self-worth, you will know that they're not going anywhere like that. It's not that simple. They value you, right? Because they are mimicking the level of self-value you have for yourself, right? So it's not easy like that for them to, what if they steal my man away before I come back? What if? Can you handle that? If you can't handle that, maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's the problem. And they can feel it. They can feel it. They know that you're not going anywhere anyway, right? It's not stuff that's necessarily deliberate like that. It's not intentional. It's not wickedness. I'm telling you, every one of us human beings, right? We take for granted anything that's readily available. This is why growth comes in. This is why self-improvement comes in. This is why being intentional comes in and say, I know that I take my wife for granted sometimes. Let me sow a little seed. Let me throw a little bit inside of the love tank. Let me do this for her because she will appreciate it. Even when I don't feel, once in a while, just throw in a little surprise here and there. Or vice versa for your husband, right? Everything is going well. It's easy. It's easier to say things like, that's bare minimum. That's what you're supposed to do as a husband. Listen, I see what you're saying. But you lack game. You don't have any game.
You know what my fear is, man of prestige, is that you stay in a relationship, you're not happy. And we hear about this all over the world, Nigeria, Canada, US, UK. Frustration, toxicity. What would happen if like she stays? Then one day she just switch and the man pass.
She can snap.
Exactly. And then
he or she can snap.
The guy, she goes to jail. Isn't it better to step out of a relationship before you get to that level?
That's why I said don't wait until you feel like it's rock bottom, because that day may never come. If you feel right now that something is off, you back off, assess the situation, address it.
Agreed, yeah.
Back off, assess the situation, address it. It's already rock bottom. If you feel rubbed off the wrong way, you can decide it is, right? Rock bottom is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a point you decide that enough is enough. If we continue in this what do you call it, in this trend, if you continue in that progression, it's not going to lead anywhere good, right? So let's stop right now. Now the other side of that is that every time you want to call, well, that's why I say you need game, you need seduction, because you can't be all too serious too. That's not going to result in, and it depends on how you learn the information. If you understand that this is just human beings, you will move a little bit differently. You will move in a way that your understanding that we're human beings, we take for granted. Your husband hasn't been doing what he used to do to get you, right? There are ways to get back to that space without creating even more damages, right? Because he's human, you're human, right? And you're inherently selfish, right? You're just trying to, it doesn't feel right. You don't feel safe, you don't feel secure. Some of your basic needs are tampered with, right? You don't feel safe in this situation, or you feel like it's boring, right? Or you don't feel like you're growing a sense of fulfillment. You don't feel a sense of fulfillment in that relationship because it feels kind of stale, right? At that point in time, you have to first of all say, yeah, that's inevitable. I heard that somewhere before, right? If you lead with that, it doesn't mean it doesn't need to be addressed. But your next point of move, your next moves will be a little bit more appropriate than, oh no, he's just being wicked. I'm not saying there are no wicked people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's probably you. You're probably the wicked one.
Well, I remember in your book where you said there's a difference between
Yes, I learned that from TD
wickedness
Jakes.
and weakness.
I learned that from TD Jakes. See, weakness and wickedness.
I had to let that marinate for a second when I was listening. I had to pause it, like sat down, like it wasn't like a come to Jesus moment for me. I'm like, what? Yeah. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
But yes.
I learned it when we were going through crisis years ago. I learned that because the truth is that I was feeling like, why is she being wicked? I am a human being like you, right? Then so when I saw the title Wicked-Ness, go and find it. It's probably somewhere on YouTube. If I find it, I'll share. When I saw like, wait, wicked, of course that attracted me to the video because my brain is telling me she's just been wicked, right? And then you're like, weakness, well, they can't see what they can't see, right? Yeah. Last night I called it oblivious, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was the reaction yesterday when we talked about oblivious?
Oh my God, they came for you.
Listen,
they did come.
I'm telling you. Let me go back to that oblivious talk thing really quick, because I have some things that I'm gonna share really quickly with regards to that. Let me see here. So AB says, Ola, how will you feel if someone is oblivious to your struggles? Right? Let me close this before I open it. There is a thing called common sense. What would you all say to that? Shout out to ABO. She's here as well.